Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Unbettable. I'm Mondo here today with Holmes, with Gare. It is Monday. We're all dragging ass from work, but you know what? We're here. We're getting down for you guys. It's what we do. Gare, you look to be in such a good mood today.
Mhm.
What's going on right there?
It was just one of those days at work. And I'm just hella tired. I played some golf this weekend and was finally able to redo my bedroom the way I wanted it. I'll give a little brief tour. I got my paddles up there, got my diploma, so I can give myself a little reminder of why I do what I do. Got the OG tapestry. It's back up on the wall. Got some floating shelves with some NOLA stuff going on up there. And the high school football jersey worn by Gary Gowdy in the
Wow.
year of 2020, well,
We gotta
2019 to
auction
2020.
that to a fan.
Yeah, Yeah, dude. It was it's been a long few days, but we're here and I'm ready to fuck around with the boys.
Hell
For
yeah,
sure.
man. Holmes, how you doing?
Doing fantastic, dude. Honestly, this weekend for me has consisted, weirdly enough, of a lot of sports research. I have been going very deep into the fantasy football mock drafts. I know in the league that we're in, we just released the draft order. So, I mean, we've been mocking like crazy, I'm sure. And I was getting into obviously futures for NFL, for college football, and it made me think, wow, we're getting near to the end of baseball season. We got to look back and see how we did on our MLB futures that we
That's
put in
right.
before the season even started. I mean, I remember me and Garrett, we did this episode so long ago, had your picks on there, filled out all of our futures preseason. I mean, this is crazy. I have some good ones right here that all three of us might hit on, but then I also have a lot that just went wrong. So let's just run through them all. Obviously, we're going to get all of your thoughts as we run through this stuff. But I wanted to hit on the ones obviously that we feel the best with right now. I have the Orioles to win the AL at plus 750. I am still feeling really good about that. I think the Orioles are one of the best teams in the American League, if not the best team. It's going to be really, really interesting come playoff time because there's so many young kids on that roster. Got to see how they adjust to postseason baseball. But Gary and Mondo, you both have the Yankees winning the World Series at plus 900. They went through a horrible stretch midseason, but look to be finally righting the ship a little bit. If the pitching is able to hold up, Mondo, I mean, we'll start with you. This is your team. How you feeling about this future, bro?
Brother, I am feeling phenomenal about this future. Let me tell you, being a Yankee fan, people think it's all glory. You have 27 rings. Enough is never enough. We've been in a rut. People have been making fun of us. And this year feels good. Granted, we did get walked off on by Detroit last night, but I'm feeling good, feeling confident. I feel like we're making the right moves. I just don't like that Gary's part of my bet. That really is like the one little thing.
Yeah. Which, fuck you for that. I've been tailing your boys since Tampa decided to stick their wiener inside of a garbage disposal. It's been pretty bad over there. But, the one thing I will say about the Yankees, I was just looking at ESPN, looking at the standings. Right now, there are four teams with 73 wins in the league. You got the Dodgers, you got the Phillies, you got the Orioles, and you got the Yankees. So four teams right now kind of battling it out for that best record. And for a while there, I really didn't think the Yankees were even going to be a contender. They went through a really bad rut. Juan Soto was batting like 140 or something like that. Aaron Judge was striking out consistently. But the boys are back in town. Aaron Judge breaks another record. He's feeling himself. Record-breaking seasons seem to be either the best or the worst seasons for some players. And luckily, this happened at the end of the season. So I think Judge is on an uptrend. And I think the plus 950 could definitely cash. Yeah, you got awesome value there with that, honestly. I would love to be able to go back and look at what the current odds are now. Hard Rock doesn't have them up though, so that's very disappointing. I was really hoping that they were going to hook us up with the current odds
Oh,
of what
Hard
these will
Rock.
be. But kind of sticking on the World Series theme, you guys also had teams that were plus 1400 that are still in the mix right now. Mondo, you had the Orioles, and Gary, you had the Phillies. who have been arguably one of the best teams in baseball so far this season. Now, they've gone through a little bit of a rut, a little bit more recently after the All-Star break, but hopefully they're starting to get back into the swing of things too. I mean, we'll start off with you first. Phillies, dude, are you feeling good about them on the National League side?
I am. I mean, they've got the hitting back. Schwarby nuked a grand slam the other night. That was huge to watch. I mean, Bryce Harper is gonna do Bryce Harper things. It's just the matter of will they get back to the consistent level they were playing on. Like you emphasized, they kind of went through a rut, which I think is, just something that happens with any aspect of athletics, like whether it be baseball, football, golf. Everybody goes through some sort of rut through a season. It just kind of happens. It's how long you choose to stay in that situation is what really, depends on how good you are. So I think the Phillies are kind of getting a good, bounce back spot. They're up there with the most wins in the league right now with the other three teams. But I think plus 1400, even if it doesn't hit, like I'm gonna know that that was a good run at it for sure because for them to be up there, I don't think it's necessarily a surprise that they're up there. I think that everybody would think they'd be at least top three in their division. But, to see them on top and in contention with the other divisions, it's kind of huge.
Yeah, dude, you scored massive on that
Mhm.
value. Mondo, what you think about the Orioles right now?
I mean, dude, I'll say it now. The winner of the World Series is coming out of the AL East, and it's either the Yankees or the Orioles. Whichever team makes it the furthest, they're going all the way. And honestly, the Orioles at plus 1400, Buster only told me himself they were the team. They were his dark horse. And I said, you know what, Buster? I'll throw some cash down on that shit. I won't hesitate. So right now, I'm liking what Buster's putting out there. That's why he's got a job where he does.
Yeah, Buster, massive Baltimore guy. Love to see that. We'll stick on the Orioles theme because Gary, you and I both had Corbin Burns at the beginning of the season plus 1,000 to win the Cy Young. He is looking like one of the favorites right now. How do you feel about the position with Corbin Burns?
I mean, I feel great. Dude's like he's like really the only pitcher or one of the only pitchers I can think of off the top of my head that have had like a consistently good season this year. Again, back to the ruts, like I feel like a lot of that often starts with your pitching. And for the Orioles, it's stayed pretty consistent. You look around the league, for potential like contenders. I mean, Paul Skeens is like everybody's favorite player to watch right now. His name has kind of died out of, the media, but that doesn't mean that he's still not just a stud. So, I feel like when you think about notable names that we've heard throughout the season, I think Corbin Burns has definitely been at the top of that list. So I don't see why not unless he decides to take a shit. So
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, Paul Skeens is in the National League, so he could still win the Cy Young in the National League if, Corbin Burns does it in the American League. They're going to have two of those. But it's all right. It's all right, brother.
that's where my lack of knowledge kicks in.
That's
No, like I'm
okay.
not afraid to admit it. Like that is where the lack of knowledge kicks in. I feel like up until that point, I was cruising.
No, listen,
But
that's a great point. I mean, Skeens has been dealing this year. And I'll stick with you real quick because your last future that looks really, really good right now. This is probably the biggest value that you had. Paul Skeens, rookie of the year. You had this at plus 15,000 at the beginning of the year. And this
Damn,
dude
Gare.
is the favorite right up there with Jackson Merrill. Like, dude, that's
How much
yeah,
awesome.
money did you put on that?
that's what I was about to say. I want to slam my big toe in a car door because I didn't put anything on it. We were talking about those futures late at night. And I was just kind of talking out my ass. I'm not gonna lie, but I will say the Paul Skeens one now, that one I did think could have potential. And I feel like if you look back at this season, name another rookie in the league that you've heard more of than Paul Skeens.
Mm.
Fair enough. Good point.
Crickets, that's what I hear. So, book it. If you actually tailed me, you gotta say something in the comments or add us on Twitter. Like I need to see that payout and you need to give me about we'll say 5% and I'll be happy.
Wow, I respect that. Got to take some off the top. Mondo, we're gonna go over to you, dude, because you have some insane value here too. I think this guy's a shoe in. Aaron Judge to win the MVP, plus 550 at the beginning of the season. I mean, I think you nailed it literally right on the head. What do you got to say about that?
I mean, dude, again, it's that Yankee factor. I know Judge is going to come out and perform, and I said it back then. It depended on if he's healthy, and he's been healthy, and you gotta love it when you can get it like that. Plus 550. I mean, that's great value for what should be an automatic pick.
Nuts. Nuts. And Gary and I both had Juan Soto at plus 600 win the MVP. I mean, the guy's having an MVP like year, but he's on the same team as a dude that is just killing him in every offensive statistical category. It is
Mhm.
ridiculous. So,
Yeah.
overall, I mean, you guys have definitely killed it with the future so far. Looking to hopefully cash most of these. Real quick, I will run through the duds that we had because we
Uh
talked about the winners, but we got to talk about some losers too.
Okay. I can't wait for
oh.
this.
Gary, honestly, the ones that you had that
Fuck.
lost were not horrible. Me and you, the worst one we probably had was Corbin Carroll to
Race.
win MVP.
Oh, okay.
Horrible, absolutely
Ooh.
horrible pick. That's
Ooh.
kind of just fallen off hard this year.
Yeah.
We had Trey Turner to win MVP, which honestly, first month and a half of the season looked pretty good. Was injured for a long time, really just took him out of the contention with that. So plus 2,000, I think, in the beginning, not bad. Yamamoto, me and you both had him to win the Cy Young. Me and Mondo had him to win Rookie of the Year. Unfortunately, this guy has been out pretty much all year with injury. He is
Mhm.
not even touching either of those award markets. Spencer Strider to win the Cy Young Gare. Not a bad pick, bro. He kind of just got screwed over by injury there. Like, I think he would have been right there in contention. That's a tough one. And honestly, your other Rookie of the Year pick, Wyatt Langford, kind of a slow start, but he's been looking damn good very recently. So he
Mhm.
has definitely vaulted his way up in the standings for that. So Gare, not bad, dude, not bad. It could have been a lot worse.
Thanks, man.
Could have been a
Thanks.
lot worse. Mondo, over to you, my man. Braves to win the World Series. I mean, it's injury, man. What are you gonna
Yeah,
do?
it's
Everybody's
tough,
bitten
man.
by the injury bug. Everybody on that team. Three of your MVP picks. We already talked about Trey Turner. That was just really a tough one this year. And then Mike Trout and Ronald Acuna, both with devastating injuries this year. Pretty much played for maybe a month, 2 months, if that. Just tough, tough there.
Yeah.
Cy Young, Garrett Cole just hasn't looked the same coming back from injury. The fastball isn't there. I like the Dylan Cease pick at 2,500. Or yeah, at 2,500. That was not a bad pick at all. He's really
Yeah.
been showing out so far this year. Zach Gallen hasn't been the same guy that he was last year. Same thing with Aaron Nola. Still, I mean, you gotta love the picks. I think they're respectable Cy Young picks there. Just tough beans with Cole and the guy who's the shortest favorites at plus 500 in
Mhm.
the beginning of the season. We also had Jackson Holiday, Rookie of the Year. Not a bad pick at all. That kid's been lighting it up recently. But when he came up the first time, man, he was absolutely horrible. I think that just kind of like took him out of any contention for Rookie of the Year. Mondo, how do you feel about these failed picks?
I mean, when you look at it, it's a lot towards injury, and then it's also just taking long shots. I mean,
Yeah.
that's aside from Judge, that's kind of what I was trying to do with a lot of these picks. Sometimes it just doesn't pan out, but when it does, you cash. So that's kind of the code we live by. But it is what it is. We keep moving. The Garrett Cole one hurts a lot, but that's a
It's
different
all
kind of
right.
pain. So,
Words to the wise, words to the wise. You got three great futures up there that are looking pretty good so far.
mhm.
As for me, I mean, dude, I had some ones that really actually shit the bed here. Adley Rutschman and Fernando Tatis to win MVP. I don't even think I was really close on either of those ones. They've had good seasons, not great, nowhere near MVP. Corbin Carroll to win MVP. That was probably one of the worst picks ever. Wow, no, this one's actually worse. Nathan Eovaldi to win the Cy Young at plus 3,000.
Ooh.
God, yeah, that was trash. That was really bad. I had Yamamoto to win the Cy and the Rookie of the Year. That's out the door. I actually liked Tyler Glass now, plus 1750 to win the Cy Young. And man, he actually looked damn good for a while. Unfortunately, yet again, he goes on the IL with injury, and this time it's elbow soreness, tightness, I think. Not good. Not what you like to see from our boy Glass now there. I had Caminero, Junior Caminero for the Rays, Rookie of the Year at plus 750. Dude literally just got called up a week ago. I had absolutely no shot at that. And Braves to win the World Series with you, Mondo. Injuries just ravaged us all year.
Tough.
So that is our look back on the MLB futures. We've done well on a couple of them, but it's all right. We're going to have an even better record coming into this NFL and college football season. I can feel it.
For sure. And like I said earlier, shoot us a DM or a comment down below, if you tailed any of those and let us know how we did,
Yeah.
helping or hurting your bank accounts. So now I'm gonna take it into UFC 305. Overall electric fight. The headliner was Adesanya versus Duplessis. And we'll get to that fight in a minute. Because boy oh boy do I got some things to say about Adesanya. So we started off the main card with Lee Jingalang and Carlos Prates. I don't think Jingalang is his last name, but that's what I kept calling him. It's literally Jing Lang, but Jingalang is funny. So yeah, I
It's
mean, great
so
fight.
fucked.
Jingalang. Jit Lang, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, I had a pretty good parlay going here. I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna make some good money on this. I had $100 parlay for all these fights. I took Prates. We're looking good. It was a knockout. Jenga Lang, bro, he froze. It was a bad knockout. He was just hit the ground. He's gone. Next fight. We got Tai Tuivasa. Keep in mind that this was in Australia. So there were some good Australian fighters that you don't typically see all that often
Mhm.
there, and they were really trying to show out. But this fight was really bad, man. It was a heavyweight fight versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. He's the only fighter from his country, which I thought was kind of a fun fact. I can't remember what the fucking country was. It's a place in South America. No, Suriname or Suriname. I don't really know how you say it, but it's kind of cool. But yeah, so both of these guys are known for their knockout power. I think right now, Jairzinho, or however the hell you say it, he has one of two flying knee knockouts in the heavyweight division, right next to my boy Derek Lewis. My balls is hot. Um, I was expecting a great fight, and honestly, it was just two fat dudes making love on the mat. Kind of a bad fight. Now the next one. This is where shit got interesting. So Dan Hooker versus Matuz's Gamrot. Hooker, another one of those Australian fighters, was not favored at all to win this fight. Now I looked at the stats. Hooker had about 5 inches of reach on him. He was taller than him, and he's fighting in his home country. Another thing, his UFC career was teetering on this fight. Before this, he was 23-12 versus Gamrot, who is now 24-3 after this fight. So a lot of the odds were in favor of Gamrot. Hooker comes out and he was utilizing the guillotine like no other. Gamrot kept trying to shoot him. Um, when I say everybody, I hope knows what shooting is. You go down and you kind of like spear them. Every single time he went down was putting him in the guillotine, and eventually it paid off. He was able to lock him up. I want to say Hooker almost knocked this fucker out like 3 times, but he was saved by the bell each time. And ultimately Hooker won by decision. Next one. Kai Kara France versus Steve Urkeg. This fight was electric, bro. He Kai came out absolutely swinging.
Yeah.
Urkeg was favored to win this fight by a mile. I mean, Urkeg before this was 12-2. Kai is now 25-11 after this fight. The books were favored Urkeg so much, and he just got knocked the fuck out, bro. Like immediately. It was, I think, one of the best fights of the night, just because we needed that bang. Like after these two boring kind of decision fights, it was like, okay, now I'm ready for the main card. And this is where I want to rip into Mr. Adesanya. So Duplessis, I had him to win this fight. I don't believe in Adesanya. I don't believe the hype. I think he's weird as fuck, and I think he's washed. I want to say this is his second or third loss in a row now. And I'll give him this. He is fighting good fighters. He's not fighting shitty fights. He wants the belt back, which, who wouldn't? After you hold it and you get this crazy nickname, you just like you're feeling yourself, and then he gets his shit rocked 1 time, 2 times, now 3 times. Adesanya almost got knocked out in the first round of this fight. He
Mhm.
was saved by the bell. It was another one where he was saved by the bell. And I thought I was like, all right, bro, you almost just got knocked the fuck out. And this is for a title fight, and you almost got knocked out in the round 1 of 5. Like, that is a horrible look. So in my head, I'm like, this man's gonna come back, and my parlay might not hit. And it, you know, it ultimately didn't. Because I cashed out early. And then I put all my winnings on Adesanya.
God.
And Adesanya was, I want to say, at plus 300 after round 1. So I thought that this shit was gonna go crazy. Like, Duplessis started bleeding. I was like, all right, he split his eye. Like, this is where it's wraps. Like, you almost got your shit rocked. Let's turn it up. And no, bro. Adesanya's gripping the cage the entire fight. He's getting called out on it. He's just laying there. He can't wrestle worth a shit. Like, it's really bad.
Yeah, it's
Ultimately,
bad.
that's how I think he ended up losing the fight. And his striking, every single time he struck, it was just countered immediately, with a punch that was just 10 times harder. And Adesanya, the one highlight that I did see was the elbow he threw. He did a spinning back elbow, which is kind of fun to watch because those usually hit like a freight train, and that's what ultimately split Duplessis' eye. But Adesanya lost. I mean, fair and square. I really didn't think he stood a chance when it went to voting. Duplessis is from Australia, or actually New Zealand. So he had that behind him, and I just think that Adesanya needs to take a break. I don't think he needs to be in any more main cards for a while. But one thing I will say before I'm done with UFC is the next UFC event should be one that everybody watches. It is going to be the first sporting event in the sphere. We have Sean O'Malley fighting. I can't remember the girl's name, but it's the champion for one of the girls' divisions fighting. Absolute electric factory. So yeah, that's UFC.
All right.
Phenomenal.
We have 10 minutes left before we got to head out. So let's head straight into studs and duds. Mr. Gary Gowdy, you delivered an absolute lyrical professionalism with the UFC talk. Now I'm asking you, who was your stud from the weekend?
My stud from the weekend is Mr. Hideki Matsuyama. He took the dub home in the St. Jude by, I want to say, 5 strokes, playing against contenders Schauffele, Scheffler, Zalatoris, all the big names in golf were there fighting for their spot to get a piece of this $20 million purse that is the FedEx Cup. So, boy came out and was absolutely insane. He also got robbed right before that. I don't know if anybody heard about that.
No.
Had landed, got robbed after getting food. They stole Matsuyama's wallet, but they stole his caddy and his translator's passport.
Damn.
So
Oof.
that was something, a little bit of adversity he had coming into the weekend, but he still came out on top. So shout out Mr. Matsuyama. He's badass motherfucker, dude.
Mr.
Insane.
Holmes, who's your
I'm
stud?
gonna go with the. Oh man, I'm gonna go with a team. Go with the Tampa Bay Rays, baby. Is one of the hottest teams in baseball. The Arizona Diamondbacks come into Tampa Bay and get swept by the Rays. I did not see this coming at all. Played great offensive baseball. Pitching was on its shit all weekend. Got to give credit to the Rays, who have had obviously a very lackluster season so far. They come out at home and play one of the best teams in the National League right now. Good on the Rays for getting a sweep.
All right. I'm going to tell you my stud. My stud is fantasy football. This weekend, I officially had my first draft back. Holmes sent out a draft order. We've got buy-in fees. We're in the good portion of the year. Football is finally here. We're breathing it in. We got Florida State on Saturday. We get to watch that. That'll be fun. Football is here. I'm so excited. That's all I could talk about.
Wait, what's on Saturday?
Florida
Florida State,
State,
Georgia Tech,
Georgia Tech in Dublin.
week 0, baby.
Oh, ooh,
Oh,
I already got a
wee,
play
indeed.
on the
Oh,
game.
indeed,
We'll
Garrett.
give it to
Oh,
you on the
indeed.
next pod.
ooh, wee. I didn't know that. Awesome.
Oh,
The
yeah.
more you know.
We'll hit a little bit of a preview next episode. You heard?
You're
Okay, okay,
All
okay.
right. My stud of the weekend. Um, so I was I was at work today. Obviously, everyone here knows where I work. So something came on the air, and I was sitting there. I just started dying laughing because what happened was there was this plane, and there was this ex NFL player. His name is Gosder Sherilis. He's a former O lineman for the Titans, the Bucks, like the Lions, a bunch of teams.
Okay.
So the guy's retired. He's trying to go on this flight. And long story short, he gets himself arrested for pissing on the person next to him during the flight.
Insane, dude.
So, Mr. Shirillis, you are my dud of the week. Congratulations. If you would like to come on the pod and talk about it, please feel free and hit us up.
I will have my screen off for that recording because I do not want to be a part of that.
All right, Holmes, who is your dud?
I'm gonna keep it pretty simple with this one. Daniel Jones, dude. First game action back from tearing the ACL last year. Throws 2 picks in the preseason game. Looked absolutely horrible. I mean, he just looks like the same old Daniel Jones we know, dude. Like he's gonna turn the ball over a ton. The Giants are not going to be good this year. I don't know why anybody continues to think different bringing this guy back every year. Daniel Jones, dud of the weekend.
Beer
I
didn't
love
do
Giants
shit.
in poverty. No, and that's what I'm saying, bro. I literally said that he's gonna be a superstar or an L, and it's looking like an
He's an
L.
L.
Yeah.
Gary, who's your
Uh,
dud?
yeah, so my dud is gonna go to Mr. Israel Adesanya. I feel like that wasn't really a surprise. Never liked the guy. Gonna keep it a buck. He's kind of a freak. He likes watching tentacle genres of certain things, and I think that yeah, he said that. This is not something I'm making up.
Okay.
So I think that's pretty weird. And I think his UFC career is slowly, or not slowly, but pretty fastly going into the shitter. So Izzy's a dud. He can
Izzy's a
still whoop my
dud.
ass, but he's a dud.
All right.
I accept that.
That is going to do it for Studs and Duds. It's also going to do it for this episode. If you did enjoy, please make sure to like, subscribe, share with everyone you know. We will see you guys on the next episode. Peace.